Okay, so it's time for the March 23rd letter home. First, I'm going to start out with answering the questions that you guys sent me on Facebook, which, thank you. I was thinking I had to make up questions on my own, but no, thank you. I'm just going to go in order of the way they showed up in the comments. First question from Stephanie from Nippon Q. Yeah, I got you. Everybody should follow her, by the way, she's awesome. Which part was the hardest and which part was the most breathtaking? The hardest part. If we're talking about the hardest place to walk, then day 4, Hakone. It was the mountain. That was the biggest mountain, and it's just we were going up. I was going up, of course, slopes and stairs forever, and I hate stairs. I don't mind the trails that are like giant rocks going upward, because those are kind of fun. You kind of like figure out your trail. Along with that, it was very stressful because the road that you can't go on Route 1 in that area. Route 1 is the highway. It's a bypass. It goes around the mountain. So you have to take the old Tokaido Trail, which is fine, but it's like cut off in weird parts with like not a highway, but just another road. And the only thing there is the bike lane becomes the pedestrian lane also. Okay, so there were other people walking after a while, like on that same route. So I knew it was okay, but it was like, am I supposed to be here? Like, it was very stressful, and every time I thought it was time to go down the mountain, we kept going up the mountain. So day 4 was the hardest. But as far as most breathtaking, I think Hakone was also the most breathtaking. Not the day that I had to climb the mountain itself, but the day before, day 3, when I went up a little bit of the mountain to get to my guest house. Because I was at the east entrance of Hakone, and it had been raining, so it was kind of like a misty rain, and like the mountains in the mist and the rain and like the river, it was just like, it was beautiful. Like that one site was really beautiful, and I have a picture that I think captures what I'm talking about, so I'll post that here. Yeah, like that area was the most beautiful. The lake was I think the lake would have been beautiful in better weather. Like if it was sunny and not cold, because I was just so cold, I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, so Hakone, hardest to walk at that time, and also most breathtaking, most beautiful. Okay, so question number 2. From my mom. Hello, Mom. The hardest question. Was it worth it? I'm going to do this question last because it's hard. So going on to question 3, and then I'll come back. Question 3 from Stephanie's mom. She wants to know, what was the most kilometers I walked in a day? Most kilometers I walked in a day. Hold on. I wrote, I kept a budget my whole trip, and that was not just how much money I spent, but how many kilometers I walked a day. And the longest, 29, 33, 30, I'm pretty sure it's 30, over 37. And I think I know what day it was too. That's 35, 37.3. That might be at 37.3. Oh, 38.5. I lied. 38.5. Okay, yes. So the longest day that the longest distance that I walked in a day was 38.5 kilometers. Usually I was averaging over 30. I had planned out my distance each day based on where I could stay, where I could sleep. And it basically, like, if there wasn't a guest house, there was only a few guest houses on the route in Shizuoka, so like at the beginning of the trip. After that, like, I wasn't going to pay 5,000 a night for hotels, so I chose net cafes. And on that day, there was a net cafe in the city before, like about an hour and a half away. But I got there a little early, so I put the extra push. So that day I went farther than my intended goal, farther than my intended distance. And then Stephanie's dad wants to know if my feet hurt. They hurt. Oh my god, yeah. The beginning, the first week, the first week, my shoulders hurt more than anything, and that was for two reasons. One, because like 2 days before my trip, I don't know if I slept wrong or what, but I got like a stiffness under my right shoulder blade, like where you turn your neck and you can't turn your neck. So I had that, and I was carrying the 8 kilograms every day. Like I wasn't used to it yet, so my shoulders would hurt more than anything after a long time. My feet were kind of adapting. That day in Hakone, climbing that mountain, ow, like going upstairs usually always burns my thighs, but the day after, the back of my calves hurt like a lot. Like it wasn't even a muscle like I knew how to deal with, and I was trying to drink a lot of water, get muscle to relax, but my calves hurt a lot, and my feet, because I did training before the trip, like I would walk like 3 or so hours a day. I already developed the blisters, and like where your blisters kind of get hard and your skin just, now you have armor on your feet, right? You have armor on your feet. We're gonna go with that. So for the most part, I didn't get any blisters. They would hurt. They would just, be tired and they would hurt, but they didn't really feel like tired and hurt till about the second week in, and that would be like the last 2 hours of the day. Sometimes in the first hour when I was warming up still, they would be a little sore, but usually they would be fine until, after walking 6 hours. They would hurt to the point where like I was walking like an old person because I didn't want to like use my feet. But it was only at the end of the day. It wasn't while I was walking, because I think it's also the adrenaline too. When you're doing something, you kind of can put that out of your mind. But when I finally sat down to relax, it'd be like, oh my god, I can't walk. So yeah, they hurt at the end, but now they're fine. They had a couple days rest and they're good. They're good. So thank you for the question. Next question is the first question from my cousin. Should I put it with her other questions? I'm gonna put it with your other questions, just so I get them all like together. Okay. So we're gonna jump down to Angel. Angel's question: what was your favorite sight to see on the trip? My favorite sight. Aichi. Like, I was so glad to be home. Like, the one thing that I did not do on this trip was, like, unnecessary sightseeing. It was literally go on my route. If it's there on my route, I'll take a picture. If it's not, I don't really care to go see a shrine right now, so I didn't do sightseeing. But I if you saw my pictures on Facebook, like I really like rivers. And anytime there was like a really nice river trailing off under my bridge and maybe like a mountain in the background, like I was set. I was really excited to see the ocean. I just like water. I just like water. Rather than like historical sites and, like specific Tokaido stuff, I really just enjoyed the scenery, and that's why I took so many pictures of rivers. Like, they were pretty and I liked them, so I took pictures of rivers and mountains. And I love my mountains, I love my rivers. Those are my favorite sites. Okay. Alright, so now I think, yes, the remainder of the questions are from my cousin, so we're going to go and do these. We're going to start with the first question you asked. What happened that you didn't plan for, and how did you adjust? Well, let me tell you. Google thinks I'm a car sometimes. Like I said, my main route was following Route 1, which is the new Tokaido. However, you cannot always follow that road because it turns into a bypass, which means it's cars only. And it's one of those things that Google has not yet realized, because you'll be walking on the sidewalk fine, and then you'll notice the sidewalk kind of end and there's a sign that says no walking from this point, no bikes from this point, and you're like, okay, I need to reroute. And I think that was the one thing that I didn't plan for. Like, I was kind of leaving my route up to Google anyway, because there was a few, like, suggestions. But that happened enough times where I just had to always have in the back of my mind, I need to make sure there's a backup route because Google might be wrong. So Google thinking I was a car was kind of a thing. And, like, basically, not all the roads have a sidewalk. Let's just be straight. Not all the roads have a sidewalk. So at first I was really uncomfortable walking in the bike lane because it still feels like it's the road. But that's the thing in Japan, like, the bike lane equals pedestrian lane also. So now I have to, like, deal with cars, and, like, those days were, like, really stressful. But I mean, I just had to follow a new route to get to my destination. So I think that was the only thing I didn't plan for that I had to adjust to, was the route itself. But it worked out. I didn't die. I say that a lot about this trip. Next question. What went better than you expected? Oh, wait, I skipped one. What was your biggest takeaway from this experience? Why do you guys ask the big questions? I guess you're supposed to do that. My biggest takeaway from this experience. One reason I really wanted to do this is I wanted to know if I could do it by myself. Like, I've been living by myself for a few years now, and, away from family and everybody. But it's always been, like, a very safe atmosphere. Like, I got my friends there, I got my coworkers, like, everything's set. There's no surprises like that, really. And I didn't travel on my own because it wasn't fun to travel on your own. So I think, in a way, it helped me realize that my mental is actually stronger than I think. Like, if I put my mind to it, I can do it. And, like, I feel now I am more focused and also more strong-willed, that I can, if there's something I want to do and it doesn't cohere with people around me, like, I can defend myself and I can push to do that thing. I don't have to conform. That's how I feel, but it's kind of been a little hard to adjust to that new lifestyle since I've come back. So I have to work on that. But I think that was my biggest takeaway, was just knowing my mental strength is stronger than I thought. Now to the next question. What went better than you expected? What went better? I think the net cafes went better than I expected. My two experiences before this trip, I usually only stayed for 3 hours, and I did the massage chair just to, like, loosen up. So this was my first time actually using the net cafes as a sleeping place. It was better than I expected because I usually can't sleep in public places. And I've never, like, gotten the flat booths or anything, so I didn't, like, it was like, here's a place to sleep, I had to find a place to sleep. But I wasn't sure I would, like, get a really good sleep. But a lot of the nights, I was just so tired that I fell asleep, and I slept good on those flat mats with my little blanket. And so that was a nice surprise, I guess. That went better than I expected, staying at the net cafes. I think I would probably, if I ever travel around Japan again, I think I would just stay there, or not for a long period of time. Need kind of like a bed once in a while. If you had to do it all over again, what would you have changed? That like if I ever decided to do a walking tour journey thing again, I wouldn't do it all in one go. Or I would choose shorter things to do. I mean, in the 3 weeks when that's your only focus, it's good because then your mind is just set on the goal. But it's very isolating for those 18 days. I got to see friends somewhere in the middle and at the beginning, but the last week it was me, and I had strangers, but only like 2 people or so talked to me. So I was pretty much isolated for a week, and that's not cool. So I would do like if I ever did like, oh, I want to walk this route, but I'm gonna break it up. I'm gonna break it up and do like weekends or something, and do it in chunks. Like that's how people have been doing the Tokaido route. Like a lot of them, like especially the older guys who are like retired, they like do it over a long period of time. They do little bits at a time. But in the same thought, like walking is I like walking, but walking is not my life, and I didn't get enough benefit or whatever from this that I feel like I would do it again. I feel like there's other things that are more geared toward my current goals in life that are, better to spend my time in than doing another walking kind of trip. So, and second to last question from my cousin. You posted about strangers talking to you. Yes, I did. What was the best slash most interesting conversation you had? I had. Okay, so if I didn't go to like a store and talk to the people at the cash register or the waitress or whatever, nobody talked to me. Nobody talked to me. The only, I think about like 7 old guys and an old lady talked to me at first. And the old lady, she like offered me a ride. Like she thought I was hitchhiking, but I was like, no, I'm doing this walking trip, so I can't. I'm just gonna walk there. And she's like, oh, you're not gonna get in? Like, yeah. A little part of me wanted to, but it was also like, no, I'm doing this right. I'm gonna walk. And then I had a nice, interesting conversation with this old guy. I was taking a picture of bamboo, and I turned around, and he was sitting in his truck, and I was like, oh, is this your bamboo? And he was like, no, I'm just on break. So we talked for probably a good 20 minutes, and just, he was retired. He used to be a driver. Like he would drive a shuttle bus for Brazilian workers from their dorm to their company, or not the company, to the factory they worked at. And his granddaughter's an elementary school teacher. So we talked about a lot of things. We just talked. And one day I had 2 old guys talk to me. One was, he's like, oh, I walk for 2 hours every day, but I can't imagine doing what you're doing. Like, I respect that. I wanna be like you. And when he said that, I was like, whoa, Mr. Man with all your life experience, you don't want to be like me. This is clearly not a recommended thing. Maybe the old guy in the truck was the most interesting of the old guys. I did talk to 2 young people, or I really loved my second guest house, because the first guest house, when I got there, it was after rain, and I went to bed, and I just slept the whole night. I didn't socialize, I didn't do anything, I just stayed in, I just crashed. The second guest house, I was planning on sleeping early, but then the guests came back as I was finishing eating, so we ended up talking, and there was a guy there who was studying massage, like traditional Japanese massage. So not only did I get a massage, but we talked about like studying massage techniques, and like I think he was a few years older than me, so we were young enough to we were able to talk about normal things. So it was really nice. That was the best conversation I had in the first half of my trip. In the second half of my trip, when I was in Kyoto, this 19-year-old kid from Osaka approached me. He's like, "Oh, are you a backpacker?" I'm like, "I am right now." The reason why I point out his conversation is because he's one of the people I think I needed to meet. Not for me, but for him, because he's kind of like in a stuck, like he doesn't know what to do with his life. Like he's not going to university like his friends, and he doesn't know what kind of work he wants to do. He's thinking maybe he should travel and like go abroad and like try to get more experience. So I think meeting with me and talking with me maybe helped inspire him a little. We are still in contact, so I want to see how that turns out with him. The old guy in the truck, the massage guy, and the boy in Kyoto. Look, those are my top three conversations with strangers. And last question from my cousin. How many avocados did you end up eating? How many avocados? Hold on, that's in my budget. I will check. Because I wrote how many I bought, so that's how many I ate. Avocado count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I bought a lot of avocados. Oh, 9, 10. I usually bought like 2 at a time. 10. I had 10 avocados over 18 days. I had 10 yummy avocados. Nice healthy fat. Okay, now back to that second question from my mom, the big one. Was it worth it? That's a very hard question to answer because I feel like I can't say no, but part of me wants to say no. So it's like yes and no. And I want to say no because in relation to my goals at the moment, getting healthy and improving my fitness, improving, my dance, writing my novel, like that did not contribute at all. Like, because of the excess, the extra stress of the walking, and, it wasn't a very catabolic, it wasn't like dance where it gets my blood pumping. It was a very steady, yeah, it was like 6 hours plus a day, but it was a very steady pace, so it wasn't, like challenging my body in other ways. No, I didn't lose weight. For those who are curious, I did not lose weight. I think I toned my legs a little. I should have. It doesn't matter. I knew I wouldn't lose weight on it. But I mean, it's funny because the reason I did it was because last year I went home for 3 weeks and I felt like I wasted a lot of that time because during the weekdays there wasn't really anything to do, and like I would just eat and watch movies and read books. And then I was like, okay, this year I'm definitely not gonna just waste my time. I want to do something. I'm gonna be out and do something. But here I went in the completely opposite direction, and I did something away from the people I wanted to be around, totally different from what I wanted to actually do in my life. I isolated myself again. So that was bad. But the part that I want to say yes is, like I mentioned earlier, it's part of what I took away. Like, I think now I know my mental is stronger than I thought it was. Like, I can push through if my mental focus is there. And I think that's the only thing I could take away. I mentioned in I think a comment or something before that I don't think this trip was for me, even though I was doing it. I don't think it was for me. I think it was to it wasn't my intention, but I think it had to be done to inspire the people around me, to inspire my students, the people that I met, my friends and family. Like, it's, I get it. I did a thing, and it's a big, like, thing, but I don't feel different. I don't feel, like, so impacted by it. But a lot of people say, "Oh, I respect you. You were so you did such a cool thing. Um, like, you're an inspiration." Like, they say all these great things about me doing this trip, but I personally don't feel impacted or influenced as much by it. So, like, I think it's just, knowing you're able to do something and wanting to do something is two, two different things. So, realizing that, I think, is also important. So I did take away a few life lessons for myself, but as an overall experience, it wasn't for me. It's not for me. It was for you guys. It's a pleasure. So, yeah. But it's over. Now on to the next thing. This Q&A got long. Okay, so that's it for the questions you guys sent me. If you have any other questions, you can put them in the comments. I might answer them in a video. I might just reply back to you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. I really appreciate not having to come up with them on my own. Please check out my walking videos. I know one is really boring because it's just my feet. But the other video has, like, street views, and I threw in some free music in there. So you can enjoy kind of seeing Japan. And on to the next thing. On to the next thing. So thank you guys. See you.